Frak, this podcast, come and listen to us talk about Battlestar Galactica. It's a show that we're talking about. Hello, interwebs, and welcome to the Frak, this podcast. I am your breeding host, Jesse Bender, and I am joined as always by...
It's Vera! I didn't think we were going to go public with that yet, but okay.
Yeah, no. It's just, I have the spoiler warning for the comments that we're going to be talking about. I have the comments in front of me. It's from the episode 2 episodes ago where we talked about Breeders Canyon.
I just saw the word breeder in front of me. That's what it was.
yes. Still. How are you, Vera? How are you doing?
I am doing okay.
And she says as she uncorks what is that, wine, or what is that? She's dumping in alcohol into her drink right now.
That is the last of this bottle of mulled mead.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, that's good. So I went to a play this past weekend.
Yes.
I went with someone else who was going because they had a friend in it.
Mm-hmm.
And their friend had been warning them ahead of time. Like, yeah, like we're doing what we can with it, but the script is terrible.
Yeah.
And even though I've been told that in advance, getting there and seeing it. So, look, you know the whole thing of how sometimes just performances of Shakespeare, they'll set it in a modern setting even if they keep the script the same. And then there are some things like 10 Things I Hate About You is the classic, but some things where they flat out try and update the story a bit. You know, West Side Story, another example.
She's the Man.
Yeah. So like these are things that happen.
Yeah.
Somebody thought it'd be a real Wizzo idea.
Wizzo.
Wait,
no. Wizzo idea. Where did that word come from? Anyways.
If they updated Midsummer Night's Dream to resemble Jersey Shore. And your face was because I never bothered to ask what the play was. Like I knew I'd been warned that the script was bad. I didn't know what the play was, so I'm sitting there looking at this playbill going, oh, God, no.
Oh, my God. That's how, because it's one of those, like, I hear that, and I'm like, God, that sounds awful. And then I circle back to, that could be fun, because I can kind of see it, and then I go circle back to it, but it's like, but no, it's probably awful.
See, like, here's the thing.
There's a journey my brain goes on with that.
Here's the thing. Like, it's a bad idea in the first place, if for no other reason than before we even get to the Jersey stuff. Just for the basic premise that I think A Midsummer Night's Dream might be the Shakespeare play least suited for updating.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the nature of the story, and like, not just the fantastical stuff, but just how deliberately overcomplicated it is. Because the fact that there are 3 romantic plots and 3 other background plots all tripping over each other is part of the joke. And you can get away with that in a 5-act play. When you try to adapt that to modern sensibilities and do it as a 2-act play, it's already a mess.
Oh, they like adapt it. I thought it was just like doing the play with the aesthetic.
No. Like I said, the script was terrible because
this is a whole reimagining.
It wasn't just taking the script of A Midsummer Night's Dream and doing like it's Jersey Shore. Somebody, I don't remember because like the playwright's name was right on the playbill. I don't remember the dude's name. I do remember it was a guy, but I could just picture him patting himself on the back for how clever he thought he was. And this thing had some of the most hey there fellow kids energy that I have ever seen put on a stage.
Oh my God. I love it.
It was so painful. And because like it starts out in a high school, and then like there's some stuff with this mayor, and then there's stuff in a salon, like the ones who are gonna like be doing the play, the tinkerers or whatever they are, like, oh, they all work in this salon or whatever. And then suddenly we're in an enchanted fucking forest because this hack playwright couldn't actually think of any way to update that or change it in any way. So now there's just fucking fairies running around with Joyzy accents. And like the dialogue was mostly modernized, occasionally slipping into a rhyme scheme out of fucking nowhere with no sense at all. Because like Midsummer Night's Dream, which is my favorite Shakespeare play for the record, like not everybody speaks in rhyme. Only the fairies speak in rhyme. And again, Shakespeare actually knew what the hell he was doing. This person had multiple characters just randomly slip into verse at some point. And then when it got to the fairies, some of them were saying full lifted lines from the Shakespeare play. It's like, will you pick a fucking lane, dude?
Wow.
Oh, it was so bad. We left at intermission, which I have never done at a play, and I wouldn't have done during this, except the person I went with, again, whose friend was in it, turned to me and said, can we please leave? I was like, we're here because you wanted to be here. So yeah, if you want to go, we can go. And we left. And they got in touch with their friend later, and their friend was totally chill with it. It's like, yeah, no, that's fine. I get it.
That's
it was so it was
funny.
A bad idea, horrendously executed.
Yeah, because I was like, you could do so. Like, I feel like you could do, because that was like my brain was like, I feel like you could do like a Jersey Shore aesthetic on just the actual play. It probably would end up like offensive and bad, but you could do it because like one of the best performances I've ever seen of Shakespeare anything is A Midsummer Night's Dream. They're here in LA. They do Shakespeare in the Park, and they did Midsummer Night's Dream as like 80s, like aged 80s rockers. Which is very, very fun. Like why am I blanking on his name? The Fairy King. Oberon. He's like aged like 80s rocker with like a guitar, and he would like play guitar at different points. Like, oh yeah. It was so much fun. It was like literally the best, also one of the best Puck performances, present company included, that I've ever seen. So shout out to Shakespeare in the Park here in LA. So like you can adapt that and do an aesthetic on top of it, but like fully doing a whole reimagining as a Jersey Shore.
Yeah, no, it was an entire reimagining, like with these horrible, like Puck was not anointing eyelids with the juice of a flower. Puck was anointing eyelids with an iPhone. And it's not just an aesthetic.
What? How?
It's not just an aesthetic choice, because there is dialogue specifically about doing that.
How?
I don't know. I watched it and I don't know.
Why isn't it just like drugs of some sort? If like not a good choice, but it makes more sense you can update. It's like it's not an iPhone. It's like have them take drugs. Like I don't know.
I told you. Big hey there fellow kids energy. So of course it's an iPhone.
Yeah, the kids use the iPhone. Like I don't like what oh god.
Like I didn't check what year the play was written.
Jersey Shore hasn't been relevant in forever anyway.
It hasn't been, but here's the thing. At a guess, I'd say the play was probably about 10 years old. Except even 10 years ago, Jersey Shore was already passé.
Yes.
So, like, oh, God. It was so bad.
Oh, that sounds fun.
I mean, we bitched the entire drive away from the theater. just try to wrap our heads around what and, like, feeling so bad for the actors. Because to their credit, nobody was up there performing it like it was crap. They committed the way actors have to, even when they are working with shit. All the credit to the actors, not a ton of credit to the director because they picked the play. But, all credit to the actors. They were giving it their all. Bless them. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that's what you were stuck with. God damn.
Well, I saw Pink Flamingos for the first time this week.
Oh, how was that?
The shift gears. Oh, it was really good. I watched it I've seen Female Trouble and Hairspray and a couple other John Waters things. But I'd never seen Pink Flamingo, and it still holds up in that it is still wildly shocking to this day, which is
it is impressive for a film based on being shocking to not become less shocking with time.
Yeah,
that is an accomplishment.
Yeah, great. I love it. It was really, really good. But like, it was definitely like, oh, okay, yeah.
Could you share with us some of your political opinions? Kill everyone now. Advocate first-degree murder. Legalize cannibalism. Eat shit.
You've been sentenced to, what was it? Sentenced to assholism.
Yeah.
Just a line that I want to steal more.
John Waters is one of those directors where like, and Kevin Smith is kind of in this category at this point in his career. I would rather hear him talk about making movies than watch his movies.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh, Kevin Smith. I do love that man, but yeah, his latest movies are not good.
I'm trying to think I think Red State was the last one I saw. I don't think I've come back since then.
He's doing Dogma 2 now, right? That hasn't come out yet, has it? I don't think it has.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I don't pay attention. Like every now and then I catch wind of like, oh, he had this movie come out 2 years ago. I'm like, oh fuck, I had no idea.
Yeah, he had like a trilogy of like Canadian hosers or whatever. Like it was like two girls who were like hockey girls, and there's like a trilogy of films that he did. And I'm like, what? I'm like, when did this happen? I was unaware.
Yeah. I know Clerks 3 happened.
Clerks 3 happened,
which I haven't seen. Which like
Bill and Ted, a new Bill, not Bill and Ted, Silent Bob and Jay Strikes Back sequel.
Oh, like it was a reboot, or like the title of it was reboot. I don't know if the movie was. Again, it's actually kind of odd that I haven't bothered to see Clerks 3 because Clerks 2 was surprisingly good.
Yeah, Clerks 2 is great. He had a stretch of films like Clerks 2, Dogma is pretty solid. Like he had a good run of films that were really good. But yeah, lately he's like, I don't know what you're doing, man. I enjoy you. Like I like Kevin Smith's a great guy.
Again, I could listen to him talk about making movies for hours.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could sit through one of his movies anymore.
I've been to one of his podcast tapings and he's really nice. He was a fun time. So yeah. No, seems like a solid dude, but yeah, his movies have not lit up. We'll see though, but yeah. Well, maybe he needs some good collaborators on his films, but that's not what we're talking about yet, because we're talking about the comment section for Exodus Part 1.
You forgot that you were transitioning into the comments because we hadn't done them yet, and now you fucked it all up.
I did. Well, we are talking about the comments for the episode Exodus Part 1. And speaking of, we were talking about breeders earlier. So this is from Nicholas Monroe, whose comment I had in front of me and why I chose that word breeders. I know that this is a TV show and they 100% could have written literally any other name, but there's a YouTuber whose last name seems to actually be Breeding. So breeder could theoretically be the name of someone. I agree, though. It was definitely a choice.
Yeah. I had somebody who's a friend of mine. I don't know if she sent it to me as a joke or not, but she sent me this link to what? Hang on, let me get the name of this thing right. She sent me this link and she was like, "I'm pretty sure this was what the Canyon was referring to, and it's a breeder reactor, which is a type of nuclear reactor."
Oh, weird.
I did not ask her if she was joking or not. I don't know.
Wild.
I'm pretty sure she listens to the podcast. I'll end up getting a random DM and be like, that'll be shocked that I didn't realize she was joking, or insulted that I maybe thought she was serious. I don't know which.
That's really funny. All right, we got Romler says the really great thing about Amanda Plummer's role in Star Trek Picard is that she got to be Picard's final villain after her father was Kirk's final villain, which is true. Because Amanda Plummer's father is Christopher Plummer, and Christopher Plummer is the villain of Star Trek 6.
Yep. Optimistic of that commenter to think they're not going to cram Picard into something else.
Well, apparently Patrick Stewart is retiring. Now that does not mean they will not Chris Pine reboot Picard at some point.
Well, they're already rebooting the main Star Trek. Like you've heard.
I mean, Strange New Worlds, but
no.
Year 1, Year 4, you mean?
No,
I
mean like in a movie. Had you not heard this?
What do you
Star Trek?
There are like 10 things going on,
Okay.
so I don't know which one
Star
you're referring
Trek
to. I can list to you.
Star Trek 4, the Kelvin timeline, has been in development hell for ages, is officially canceled.
Yes, that
and they are gearing up for a fresh reboot of Kirk
the Dungeons and Dragons
that crew on film as a movie series.
Is that a Kirk? Is that? I don't know if that's a Kirk reboot though. The only thing I heard. So
that may have been my assumption, because why else do you need to cancel the Kelvin timeline if you're not messing with that crew again?
So my actually bit here. So what is currently on the table is they want to do, after Strange New Worlds, Akiva Goldsman wants to do Star Trek Year 1.
Yeah, I know that.
Which would be a reboot of the original series with Kirk and crew, just with the Strange New Worlds versions of the characters.
Yeah.
So Ethan Peck and all of that jazz. I'm blanking on the actor who plays Kirk off the top of my head now. But the Kirk who plays Kirk from Strange New Worlds, all that. So there's a TV show Kirk on the table right now. The Star Trek 4 one was canceled, which I'm actually kind of sad about. I didn't want like a whole franchise of them again. I did kind of want one more to just wrap out that crew, because they never got to finish their 5-year mission. And I do feel like Beyond, Star Trek Beyond is a great middle film, and you just should ignore Into Darkness. Just watch Star Trek DS9 Beyond, and then you need an end to that trilogy.
I'll just sit over here in silence as a soft Darkness defender and someone who thinks Beyond is overrated.
Beyond is one of my favorite Star.
It's I know it is. We've had this conversation about my big hang up with it that kind of taints the entire tone for me.
Oh, I know your problem with it is correct, and it would be better if it had been a second movie, and then they wouldn't have done the he's jaded bit. Anyways, this is the whole. It should not have been he's jaded, and if he had been a second movie, which is what it should have been, he would not have been they wouldn't have written him as jaded.
I think you are giving them too much credit. There was no reason for them to have written him as jaded in the third one. We never got to see him start the mission. I don't get why you think if Beyond had been the second movie that they wouldn't have just done the same fucking thing.
There are interviews where they said they made him that jaded because they said it was the third movie in a series, so we feel like we've earned it, which they did not, because Into Darkness is a movie of zero consequence that ends the characters exactly where they ended at the end of 2009. Anyways, this is the whole other conversation. To finish out, yes, the movie that is currently being considered is a movie being written by the Dungeons and Dragons team.
I did know that.
Which I'm very here for. But the only thing that I have seen them say that they were doing with that was just going to be a fresh take. Fresh take does not necessarily mean Kirk Spock. It could, but I don't think it does necessarily.
I think it does. What the fuck else could... Well, no, here's the thing.
I trust the Dungeons and Dragons crew to like not necessarily let's do nostalgia bullshit. They've done...
This has nothing to do with them. They're writers for hire in this case. And they are answering to fucking Skydance. So... Here's why I think you're wrong. What is bankable at this point with Star Trek? You cannot launch a film franchise with an entirely new crew nobody has heard of. We are too close to the Next Generation having shown... Let me talk, bitch. Okay. Let me fucking talk. We are too close to the Next Generation crew having showed up in Picard Season 3, and the fans are still clamoring for Legacy. So if you reboot with the Next Generation crew, nobody fucking wants it. What the hell else is there to do that will actually justify a film budget with a producer who is a narrow-minded dipshit that he would actually sign off on? That isn't Spock and Kirk.
Quote, Deadline reports from Paramount this will be, quote, a completely new take in the Star Trek universe, not connected to any previous or current television series, movie or prior movies, and will introduce completely new characters to the franchise. End quote.
I still don't believe... Here's the
thing.
No. Listen to me. Listen to me. That wording sounds like weasel shit to me. Because I think, so the way you justify that quote later on, if I'm right, and I might not be, but for the time being, you can't prove that I'm not, so I'm going to be a smug bitch, in the chance that I'm right, you justify that quote by saying, well, no, it's not connected to any of the continuities. And yes, they will also be introducing new characters, but they won't be introducing only new characters.
Oh, I would be shocked if this thing didn't have like a cameo from, someone or other. But I don't know.
Yeah, but who the fuck do you get to cameo that has any pull on the level of a film?
I mean, Patrick Stewart's retiring. That would be one. William Shatner keeps wanting to come back.
I don't think they'll let him.
They almost did for Strange New Worlds.
How?
You hear this?
They were going to do a random cameo.
They were going to do an animated episode that was going to be like time travel-y and going to have William Shatner appear.
Ew.
Yeah. So. Anyways, we have been way off track. Thank you. Welcome to the Star Trek cast. I'll end there. Let us talk about the episode Collaborators. I'm not even going to transition. We've been talking a whole bunch about other shit.
You read all of one comment.
No, we read two. I'll read one more. Edward Sexby says, I mean, what possible use would Tom Zarek, a guerrilla terrorist and anti-colonial revolutionary with 20 years of experience, have to offer a story arc about occupation and resistance to it, especially one with pretensions to examining the morality and structure of said resistance?
Yeah, I know. No place for him at all.
Yeah, not at all. Yep. All righty. Let us get into Collaborators. Going smooth. This is very, very smooth. We're talking about the episode Collaborators today, so let us get into our recap. We start off the episode in a Viper launch tube where we have Anders, Chief Tyrrell, Ty, Resistance Lady, and Connor. And I got Connor's name before I knew the fucking Resistance Lady's name.
And he's new, isn't he?
Connor briefly appeared, I think, in one of the 2 Exodus episodes. He wasn't like featured. He was just there. I did recognize him because I recognize the actor. He's been in a few different random things. So I was like, oh, that guy. And I was going to call him out like last episode. I'm like, he's just around. But yeah, he is here. So Connor has existed prior to this, but only I think briefly in the background of like one of the other episodes. But yeah, so Anders, Connor, Chief, Ty, and Resistance Lady are there, and they are bringing a captured jammer into the tube, and they call themselves the Circle. It says the Circle is we've judged the evidence presented, and we have found you guilty. Do you have anything to say? Guilty of like crimes against humanity and collaborating with Cylons. Basically, they found out that he was part of the Cylon police, and that's what they're charging him with.
Yeah, it was surprising to me that they jumped immediately to these people are known, have been found, and are being tried in any way. I had really thought that we were going to get a plot lines of like, especially Jammer, like worried about being found out and all this other stuff. But then it actually occurred to me like, oh, that's basically not functionally different from a secret Cylon plot though. So it actually kind of makes sense that they skip over that to get to this bit, because the plot beats of having to root out the people who had been helping the Cylons bears too much a resemblance to just rooting out Cylons, and then you're just repeating stuff too much. So while it threw me off initially, when I thought about it, I was like, oh, that's actually probably a good call.
Yeah, no, it is. Does mean though, I mean, given where the scene ends, it is weird because we have that whole thing with like Jammer being given in the Resistance minisodes thing, that like thing to like call people in, which never comes back up. So yeah, but I mean, it functions enough in the sense that like he was thinking about like joining the Cylons, but like it was a weird MacGuffin piece that just never came back up.
I think we had expected it to actually come into play when all it really was just a bit of symbolism for him tying himself to the Cylons.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was symbolism, not plot.
Yeah.
Anyways. Jammer initially denies this, and Connor gets aggressive and says, like, look, these are the names of the people you killed, and it's a list of the people that were killed in the raid that we saw during, I think, one of the episodes earlier this season that Jammer was a part of. And Jammer says, I was trying to help people, and Ty says, well, you didn't do a very good job. And then Jammer like kind of turns to the chief, trying to like argue for his life. Was like, well, I saved Callie. When I was the one who released her. And Ty's like, yeah, Callie did get away somehow. And then Connor sort of charges this thing of like, oh, there are 23 people killed in the temple raids. My kid's name is on this list. So does saving Callie make up for him killing my son? And Ty sort of reiterates the question, like, does it? And like makes it, and Tyrell like goes down to Jammer and says like, did you do this? Did you kill these people, Jammer? And Jammer tries to he doesn't say no, but he tries to justify. It's like, it was crazy down there. That people make decisions so fast. We thought they were insurgents. You know what it's like. What was I supposed to do? And then Tyrell's like, yeah, no, that doesn't make up for him. Reading Callie doesn't make up for him killing those people. And they say the sentence is death. Jammer says, I'm sorry. And then they space him down the tube. So, and then
he doesn't just say, let's be clear about this, because you say out loud, he says, I'm sorry, and they space him. It makes it sound like he was like stoic and accepting. He was pleading. He was begging. He was screaming for them to not do this to him.
Yes, very much so. And they space him. And then there's a small beat afterwards after they space him, where Connor says, my son was only 7 years old. And seems upset obviously over the whole situation. And
the man starts crying. Let's not undersell it.
Yes. And the chief just goes, this isn't what I signed up for.
No, Anders. It was
Anders. Sorry, Anders has that line. So,
yeah. Which immediately made me nervous with him doing that. I'm like, oh God, what kind of high horse are they going to have him get on? Turned out not really.
No, they don't really. Yeah.
But I got nervous from that. I will say, like, the whole beat with Jammer and like him trying to cite, having helped Callie get away. I really like that the question was asked, like, okay, even if that's true, because Jammer can't prove that. Even if that's true, should that matter given everything else? And I'm just reminded of like an interaction from Christopher Eccleston on Doctor Who, where he's sitting eating dinner across from this really awful, horrible murderer of an alien. She's like, I there was somebody just today. I could have killed her, but I didn't. I let her go. And he just stares her down and says, and that's how you live with yourself. Because every now and then, for whatever reason, because the wind blew the right way, because they smiled, because they reminded you of somebody, you let someone go, you were kind. And that's how you live with everything else you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's a great scene. It kind of in a unfortunate way, and this is me being critical of it. Spoiler warning for Peacemaker season 2, but it's like that the alternate universe. Chris's dad. Skip ahead a couple minutes here, but Chris's dad, alternate universe, like makes this justification of like, oh, I can like, he basically makes the speech that the episode frames as like a good thing, where he's just like, oh, I'm not one of the Nazis, I sort of sit by and don't let anything happen. It just sort of kind of reminds me of the same thing of like, but you should be getting involved and trying to do more. You are in a position to do more.
Yeah.
It's a very different dynamic. I don't know. It just made
I think the problem with that scene in Peacemaker was that we were left with too much freedom to interpret
what the show was trying to say about it.
What that actually means. Because like, by that point, oh boy, trying not to get on a whole tangent.
I shouldn't have even brought this up because it's not directly related. It's kind of adjacent to this.
This is your fault, but now I have to expunge this thought. So, like, we find out that in the alternate Nazi universe where the Nazis rule America, you have this guy saying like, I'm not one of them, and we know he is beloved and like respected as an authority figure, but we don't know what it is he actually does. Like, you make a lot of assumptions about what he likely does, but we actually don't know what his history is. We don't know if he has gone out of his way to limit himself to stepping in situations where he's not enforcing the oppression. He is actually like protecting people, but in a way that is also kind of serving the state so that they let him keep doing it, but is not actually actively harming the people that are being oppressed by it. That's possible, but we don't see any of that. We don't know that history. And without knowing the specifics.
We actually see they put down a resistance group that we explicitly tie to Vigilante. So they do actually.
No.
Chris does.
Chris does. The Chris from the main universe does. And in a way,
it's implied that they do that.
And in a way that he gets chastised for lightly by that version of his dad, basically saying he was too much of a hothead, going in again, you're making a mess, implying that isn't how his dad does it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, still a ton of room left open for interpretation. So you have him making a speech that could have landed if you were also going to present us with all the specifics as to why he's actually right and not deluding himself. Because otherwise, I don't know if you're showing me a guy who is kidding himself about how much good he's doing, or a guy who is legitimately trying to do the best that he can. I don't know which it was, because we didn't have enough details.
Indeed.
With Jammer, we kind of do, though.
Yes. Sorry. This is an aside. It was a complicated point to get to something that was only vaguely reminiscent of the situation.
We are almost nowhere into this episode, and we have been going for so long already.
Yeah, I know. I let me put it this way. I was trying to tangent out of it, but like we ended up going down it because I said it and I'm like, no, this isn't exactly right. So I'm going to try and explain it badly and just get out of it. And then it didn't work. And then we had to go down the thing. And now I look like a silly person. The thing is,
it was your fault becoming
it's my fault.
It's your fault for starting it, and then like
you just had to expunge the thought.
Yes, I will take ownership of the fact that once I start down a tangent, I do have to finish it. My brain will not let me let go of that thought until we do the little cul-de-sac and come out of it. So I will take ownership of that. But you did turn the car down that cul-de-sac.
No, I know. It's just like it's like we have an argument over like, oh, I just want to back up. And you're like, no, just go all the way around. It's easier.
No, just do the whole loop. Just go to the end and do the
loop. And we'll get out of here.
We're not doing a U-turn. God damn it!
It'd be faster. But yeah, but it's more complicated. Anyways, all right. Now that we've gone down that fucking road, sorry everybody. I'll take the hit on that one. We then cut to Callie sleeping with the chief, sleeping with their kid. The chief comes in. God, I can't speak. Callie sleeping with her kid. Chief comes in, wakes her up, and sort of is like, hey, how are things going? And he's like, hey, when you were down on the planet, when you ran away from the trucks, did anyone help you? And Callie, who's kind of still like waking up from being asleep, says like initially no, and then the chief sort of goes like okay, and you get the sense of like okay, Jammer was lying, is sort of what his initial thought was. But then Callie goes, wait, yeah, somebody did tell me to run. It must have been one of those goons. I haven't really thought about it since. And she says sort of, why do you ask? And the chief says, oh, no reason. But yeah, Chief now knows that Jammer did save his wife's life, so yeah, sort of causing him to.
And I like the order of events on this. I like that it doesn't make him necessarily doubt the decision that he made, but it does mean that he is finding out after the fact the decision was less clean than he would have liked it.
Yes.
Like the easiest thing for him would have been for her to just go, no, absolutely nobody helped me with that. But for him to get this answer instead, like, he still made his decision before on the basis of even if you did, that's not good enough. So like he can still stand by the decision he made, but it still becomes less comfortable regardless. And so I like the reality of that, because just because you make a decision and you stand by it and you find out stuff later that wouldn't have made you make a wholly different decision, but still makes things feel worse, even though when the chips were down, even with the new information, you probably would have made the same choice. It still feels a little worse knowing that you made the decision without knowing that.
Yes. Which will become a much bigger problem for the chief textually later on.
Yeah.
As we will dive into this episode. All right. We then cut to Adama, Ty, and Roslyn talking to somebody that we don't see initially. And they're like, oh, it's not his fault. You were in a possible situation. It's just the way it has to be, and it turns out they're talking to Baltar. And Baltar's like, yeah, so, there's no hard feelings. Mistakes are made. The past is past. We can all agree we'd like to move on. But then Head 6 comes in and starts talking to them and says like, no, she starts advocating against Baltar, saying he actively sought your death. Don't you have any self-respect? And Baltar's like, oh, they can't hear you. And then I forget exactly what it says, but Adama says something reacting to him.
Baltar's like, they can't hear you. Six says, don't make me angry, guys. And then Adama says, you wouldn't like her when she's angry.
Which means, Adama can hear her. And then Roslyn comes over, is like, I have always wanted you, and starts like coming on to Baltar, and Baltar's like, oh God, no, I'm dreaming, aren't I?
It's the stupidest thing, and it was clearly written by a man. But I also kind of love it just because of the kind of dipshit, the kind of dipshit Baltar is.
Mm-hmm.
And B, just to pivot as hard as possible into, this is not reality.
Yes.
It's like, okay, we've had Six start interacting directly with these. Well, actually, first thing, last time we saw Baltar, he wasn't with, the fleet, so he shouldn't be there. But, also, it's been a week. So I was kind of like, wait a second. But like, they're all being forgiven. That doesn't track. And then they start interacting with Six. Is like, oh, okay. And then like, okay, what's the most absurd thing we can do to completely break the reality? Roslyn hits on him. Like, it's kind of awful, but I kind of love it.
It's very camp in a very fun way, because it's like, ooh, we're kind of unsettling. Like when Adama says like, oh, you wouldn't like her when she's angry, that sort of thing. Like, it's a little like, what? That's kind of weird. Hard pivot. I'm coming on to you now. Yeah, it is like, it's a very like, whoa, this is slightly unsettling, and like increasing steadily to like, now we're at a 10.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't think it was a good idea, but I'm kind of happy they did it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it fits Baltar though really well too, because it's like, again, he's trying. It showcases what he wants. Right, he wants to just be forgiven, and people like, oh, look at me, how hard I had it, and like we can all just move on, and like, I know I did some bad things, but it's fine, right? And then also speaks to like, yeah, I just want to fuck the lady,
Yeah.
So it's like, it's very much his like pure id going on here. Yeah.
Please have mercy on me. I am but a small bean.
A small bean who wants to have sex with the power lady. He just wants to be domed by so many women around him.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah. Except he's also really bad at it, because like the times we've actually seen him get with a woman, he's like, oh, you are in denial of how much of a sub you are, because you keep trying to be dominant in your actual real life scenarios when everything going on in your head, you are just a subby little boy.
Yes, you are a subby little boy who thinks he's a dom. Man. God, that describes several people that I know you know who I'm thinking of, but I'm not
yes, I know exactly who you're thinking of.
And I'm not going to name on a podcast publicly.
Nope. For libelous reasons, we will not name.
Yeah.
So, we won't say that name.
Anyways, moving on. Baltar wakes up on the Cylon ship. He's in kind of a weird room. I think this is the first time we're seeing the actual interior of a Cylon ship, sans the gooey, fleshy part.
This is the first time we've seen anything. What, like, it's weird because it's not organic at all. It's very metallic, and in an odd way, it almost feels like the ships that we've seen up to this point were based more on the idea of the Cylons that look like people, whereas this space feels more based off the Centurions.
Yes, it is.
Like right down to the fact that there is in fact a red sort of like bar along the wall.
I kind of like the design. It's kind of cool. There's also we won't get to it this episode, but there is another design in these ships that we'll get to, I think maybe even next episode, that I also really kind of enjoyed. But I do like the visual language here. It's less interesting, I think, than the fleshy stuff that we saw.
Because like fleshy stuff is weird, and I like weird flesh stuff.
Yes, but it is a fun design. And it is very Spartan. He just has like a red bed, like a very elegant bed.
I was gonna say it's a cushy ass bed. It ain't no cot.
Yeah, it's a very elegant bed that he's sort of sleeping on, and that's really about all he has in that room. It's on like an elevated platform, and then there's a Centurion guarding him. So, yeah. So he is a prisoner of some sort here. We also see, by the way, it should be noted, we see they have 4 base stars and a resurrection ship. So they have another resurrection ship.
Yeah.
It should be noted, which we could have presumed based on the fact that they were resurrecting on New Caprica, but we hadn't seen one up until now. So
we hadn't. And I actually asked the question before, like, did they have a new ship, or were they actually close enough to
the Cylon
homeworld that they didn't need it?
Mm-hmm. Well, I got the answer here. We then cut back to the Galactica. Anders wakes up in this communal space that they're all in. They're sort of like in the Viper pilot room. Though I did like, and this we kind of see this with Tyrell as well, and Callie in the earlier scene, that like these spaces are a little bit more crowded than they typically are. Probably because people are sort of like being moved around and shuffled around. No one actually knows where they're supposed to live at the moment. So I did like that as just a background element of these scenes. But anyways, he wakes up. Starbuck's kind of already up, and he asks her like, "Did you sleep?" And she says she hasn't slept, and she says she's got her gear out of storage, and I thought I'd never see this stuff again. And like Anders goes to kiss her, but she isn't being really super receptive to his affections, essentially.
And I got really nervous, not because of this scene in isolation, but because of the previously on. Because the previously on...
yeah, I know exactly what you're... Yeah.
The previously on very specifically showed her like being made to say I love you to Leoben before stabbing him. And then the first scene we see her here in this, she's like being like all distant to her husband. I'm like, don't.
She actually fell in love with Leoben or whatever.
No, I didn't think they were literally going to do that, but I did think they were going to be like, she was like carrying some guilt either for having killed him or for like having even said the words I love you to him, or like something. And I'm like, I do not trust this show and this writing staff to handle any of the things I think they're going to do, none of which they're doing. So I don't know why the fuck that was in the previously on. Like,
I think it was supposed to be there for a look, she went through trauma.
I think the only extent to which it was there was to remind you that she's traumatized. And I'm like, so's fucking everybody else. But
yeah.
That was misleading in a bad way.
Yes. Well, we'll get into it a little bit more. I mean, there is something worth saying of like the specific way she's traumatized, of like this guy coming on to her and wanting love, and like, not that Anders is doing this, but he is, there is an element of like the way he interacts with her is like vaguely reminiscent of the Obins. And so it might just trigger her in that way.
But again, I do not trust the show with these writers to handle any of that. So I'd rather they just didn't.
Yes. But to give them, I will at least argue, like, to give them credit, it actually lines up and actually works. I don't know. You say you don't trust them, and I agree. I understand why you don't have the trust. You are correct to not have the trust. Every time you're like, I don't trust it, I agree with you. However, to at least give them the credit, I do think that they actually did nail that here with that.
I mean, look, I'll jump to the end. I think this is one of the best episodes of the show so far.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
So,
yes, I agree. Yeah.
There's a lot of instances across this episode where it looks like they're going to tee up to do shit to piss me off, and they do something way more interesting.
Yes. So let me just put it this way: like, you've been trained to not trust them, understandably so. But I will at least give them the credit of like they did do well this time. So,
no, they did, because like I'm not actually complaining about what's in the show. I'm complaining because the previously on primed me for shit they didn't even do.
Yeah. No, I get it. I again understand completely. I'm just at least being like, but to at least give the credit. All right, we jump over to Colonial 1. And we have Roslin is talking to Zarek, who is currently the president, as we find out, because he sort of got the role because Baltar's not there anymore.
Because he was technically the vice president, even though they jailed him. I guess they didn't officially strip him of title, or maybe they're just pretending that didn't happen, because if it happened under Cylon occupation, it doesn't count.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, we learned that he is putting together a new quorum of 12. And that he says to Rosalind's like, as soon as that's done, I will personally place your name in as nomination as my VP. Once you're confirmed, I'll submit my resignation and you'll be sworn in. So it's sort of like getting her to become president again, essentially.
Yeah.
And she goes, Rosalind's like, oh, well, again, just to set the tone here, it seems to be relatively friendly.
Yeah.
Like not like they're buddy, but they have an understanding of each other that's not antagonistic necessarily. And she says, you're stepping down without a fight. That must mean Zarek must want something. And tell me if it's a price I'm willing to pay. I want to see if it's a price I'm willing to pay, I should say. And Zarek says, well, I'm a realist. I never had any illusions of remaining in office. And Adama's made it really clear he'd put me in a cell. And she says, well, he's doing you a favor. It'd be impossible to govern the fleet without the backing of the military. And he's like, I agree. Which again speaks a lot to like the influence of the military here.
Yeah. But like it is also one of those things where like the heightened situation makes it work better than a more grounded scenario, because like they are literally on the run from another genocidal species. Without the military, they are all screwed. It's not just strong arming and fear mongering, as is usually the case in real life.
Yes. And also, if we want to get super political here, like, even though Adama's made protestations to the fact that are different than this earlier on in the show, they are functionally the mechanism of state power too, as well, in the show. So, yeah.
Now, to be fair, there is plenty of criticism to be lobbied at the general practice of creating a fantastical situation to justify something that also happens in reality, but isn't really justified in reality. There's legit criticisms to be had for doing that. I don't feel like making them personally, but I am going to acknowledge that is an angle that you could go at.
Yes. But yeah, it makes logistical sense within the logic here at the very least. And so Zarek says, like, what I want is I just want to be included in the government. I don't want to be on the outside looking in anymore.
I want to be in the room where it happens.
It happens, the room where it happens, and now we're copyright claimed.
My singing is not good enough to get.
Let's see. Can I get I want to be in the. Okay. Anyways, sorry for making you all suffer for that, listeners. Rosalind seems. You. Yeah, right. Rosalind seems to be amenable to this, and she says, "You stood up to Baltar, and that we need that kind of courage. The vice presidency is yours, Tom." So, Rosalind Zarek.
Woo!
Yeah. We then have Gata. And actually, sorry, it's before we move on to that point. I will say this will be complicated later on in the episode. I do like this sort of like frenemies vibe between these two. It's probably the best dynamic that I've liked between these two since they've been introduced.
Yeah,
it's an interesting like we're antagonistic, but like
I think the fact that he didn't roll over and work with Baltar earned him a lot of respect for her. Because she has up until this point assumed he is a man devoid of principles and only wants power. Mm-hmm. But if that was true, he wouldn't have ended up in jail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So she's had to now she still does not trust him, but she has had to set aside this notion of he just wants power and there's no middle ground or anything. Like, well, no, there has to be, because if that's all he wanted, he would have just gone along with what was going on to stay in the position of power he had.
Yes, correct. We then jump to the CIC of Galactica, and Gata comes in. He's wearing civilian uniform, or civilian outfit, I should say. And then Ty starts harassing him, saying, "Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Who gave this man permission to be here?" And Gata's like, "Hey, I just was, I offered to come in for repairs because the Admiral said he needed help on fixing some stuff."
Yeah, and, the internal communication systems, I believe.
Yes, and then Ty just sort of says, a man can turn his coat and contribute to the death of thousands, but we need the phones fixed, so everything is forgiven. Ty is sort of like grandstanding and making this large point. Gata is kind of like trying to avert his eyes and just sort of standing there and taking it and not even looking at him. And like Ty even says, "Look at me," to get him to look at it. It's like, and then he goes after him. It's like, "I've been missing something that I lost my attention. You're so buddy with the silence. Do you know where it is? Do you know where my eye is?" And it escalates. This is when Adama comes in. He says, "Saul," which sort of like stops Saul from continuing and sort of he pulls him aside. And Gata sort of, starts, goes back to work a little bit. And Adama seems to be trying to like, placate Ty and say, "Look, there's a lot of work that needs to be done the next couple of weeks. Go get some sleep." And Ty's like, "No, I can handle this on this own. I am still the XO of the ship." And like Adama says, like, "Hey," tries to put his hands on him, and it's like Ty's like, "Get your hands off of me. And Adama says, "You're embarrassing yourself, Saul." And Adama says, "You should be embarrassed, letting Baltar's henchmen walk around." And Adama says, "Sleep this off. That's an order." He's like, "Oh yes." Ty said, "Go to sleep and forget about all this. I'm not forgetting, and I'm not not forgetting, and I'm not forgiving."
So he's mildly wound up.
Yes, and I do. He is mildly wound up, but I also do like this as a point of tension between these two, because usually Ty and Adama, like Adama recognizes the problems that Ty has, but usually he is able to at least placate Ty to a degree.
Yeah.
But here he's not able to do that, and Ty is sort of being actually antagonistic to Adama, and pointing out, I don't necessarily agree with Ty here, but he is pointing out how Adama was not subject to the traumas that everyone on New Caprica went through, and does not have the same level of animosity towards someone like Gata, because he didn't deal with the sort of what was going on.
Yeah, for Adama, it is looking at a sheet of paper and a list of things someone did. He didn't have to be there. And like, I'm sure some people could argue, well, that makes him less emotional and more objective about it. But like, not understanding the actual pain, like being so distanced from the pain that it is reduced to words and numbers, means you don't understand what happened.
No, it's one of those things too, where like, this is somewhat different, but this is slightly more relevant than my last sidetrack. But it is sort of like, it's something I was thinking about recently, where like I got a comment. I get these comments somewhat regularly when I talk about trans rights issues, and someone's like, "Well, you're not objective because you're trans." Like, I'm the one who goes through it. Like, I know these things better than you do as a trans, because I am trans. And yes, no one's objective, and usually it's like white cis dudes get to be the objective ones. That's a whole other conversation.
By default, yeah.
Yes, but that's a different conversation. But the ultimate point is, like, the people who were affected by it are not objective, but really, is anyone objective? And like, in what ways are we going to navigate this thing of, like, for Adama, he's sort of able to be distanced from it, but that doesn't mean he understands necessarily what it meant towards people to have been through this. Whereas Ty is also going probably to the other extreme of being like, he's way too invested in what happened and cannot like see clearly what's happening with Gata here. So, but speaking of which, we then cut to a meeting of the circle group again. So our 5 people that I referenced before. And they are basically calling a vote on another person that they are basically giving a, I don't want to say a trial to, but basically being jury for, like going over the evidence and being the jury.
Yeah, here's the things we know for certain. Here's the people, here's what they did. Here's the people who died as a direct result of their actions.
And they all vote guilty, and they say the vote being unanimous, he's sentenced to death. So they have to have a unanimous vote for that to happen. Again, acting as a jury. And they said, okay, this person that they condemned is on another ship, so they have people that will take care of it there. They don't have to deal with it on the Galactica as they did Jammer. And then Tyrell says, all right, we got 57 more of these to go. And then someone mentions like, oh, there's only 3 days to do this, and Ty says, yeah, we all knew there was a clock when we signed on for this thing. So they have 3 days to deal with this, and we'll learn more context about that later. But Connor says, some of these people are so guilty, they stink, and, I can get through 50 of these things in an hour. And that's when Ty, grabs Connor and like shoves his head down on the table. He's saying, do you think we're doing this on a whim? He was guilty. There was evidence. You read the witness reports. You tried and convicted him. This is about justice. And he emphasizes it's justice. Then he lets Connor up and says, just to be clear, like, I like you, Connor. You're a good guy. And then they go into, now they're going to judge Gata's case.
Yeah. I really like how seriously Ty is taking this. Like, we know he is very personal about all this, not just because of his eye. Like, it'll get cited later because also of Ellen. Like, I'm sure from his perspective, like, he was willing to sacrifice the person that he loved because she did something so awful that he felt that it was necessary to do that. So, like, I'm sure for him, the idea that anybody else would be let off the hook. Like, I'm sure when he sees someone like Gata, he cited his eye, but I'm sure in his head is like, if Ellen didn't get to live, you sure as hell don't either.
And also he knows Gata. It's a bit more personal with Gata, as like,
Yeah,
which also gets cited later. He says like he was family.
Yeah.
So.
And there's that too, but also just I like how serious he is about like we do this the right way, because it'll become very evident later that even quote unquote the right way is very rushed and very leaping to conclusions. And I think it becomes clear by the end that as much as Ty is clinging to the procedure, that is how he is sleeping at night. He's like, because we went down the checklist, that's why it's okay that we do this. And if we don't do the checklist, we don't get to do it. But he also kind of wants to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But he takes the checklist so seriously because that is in his mind what justifies it. Is like,
yes,
he tells himself it's okay because we did the checklist.
Yes. And also there's another element. This will get more complicated later, but we get a hint of it here of like this is legal in some sense.
Yes.
And so it's like he is able to justify it in the sense of like it has been legalized by, as we'll later learn, the state, in some way. And so it's like, okay, this is okay because the state says it is.
Yeah.
Even though we are taking away people's right to trial. So, yep. I just to call it out, because you know me, I like to call it like small acting moments that I like it. Like we see that he says justice, he like emphasizes justice twice, and it's like him, I think, trying to again justify to himself.
Yeah.
A small way of how he's like, yes, this is about, like he's saying it to himself, like this is about justice, not vengeance. So yeah. Which is not necessarily true, but it's how he's justifying it. We have a commercial break, then we come back and we get the sort of like their case against Gata as they sort of bring it. And Ty, as I briefly mentioned a second ago, sort of says like, this is difficult. I stood besides Gata. He was family. But he was chief of staff of Baltar. That's Ty's argument. And Anders brings up like, well, we have no hard evidence against him. All we know is he worked for Baltar. We need something specific. And Ty sort of argues,
because everyone else, there's like very specific things that they were done, whereas Gata,
yes,
it is largely just like, well, he held a high-ranking position, and that's enough.
Yes, and like the crimes that they are accusing him of are collaborating with the enemy and crimes against humanity. Those are the two ones, and those are kind of vaguely defined, especially in his case. So yeah, Anders argues there's no hard evidence here. We need something specific. And, Ty says, we all know that Baltar was the public face, but Gata was the one, he actually did the paperwork. He approved the death list. And Terrell sort of argues, like, did you see him Did you see him sign the death list? And Ty points out, was like, well, he knew Callie's name was on the death list. He saw the death order. And so Ty's making this like personal appeal to Tyrell of like, he affected your wife. Which again gets to this whole point of like that argument we were talking about before, like objectivity versus investment. Because like, Tyrell's trying to have a sort of like pull back objective view, but then Ty's tying it into something personal with him. So like that is an interesting push and pull there.
Yeah.
And Anders again makes the point, it's like we didn't know what he did or didn't do. And then I think Ty brings up this like, you see the death list and do nothing about it, that makes him guilty. And so everyone votes guilty except for Tyrell, and Sam, when it comes to him, says, I'm done. I'm not voting. The war's over for me. I'm sorry. And he abdicates and leaves.
Yeah.
So yes.
So yeah, Anders, I don't mind the beat. I think it's just because Anders is a guy who we've largely seen in the middle of stuff. So like, he's a guy who I don't know what a normal day is for him.
Yeah.
Because from the very first time we've met him, he's living in extreme circumstances. So I think because I feel like I don't know him as well, and also like he was introduced later, because I feel like I don't know him quite as well as the rest of the cast, I don't want to say this feels out of character so much as it felt slightly unearned.
There's, I would agree with you. There is a line in a later scene that does a lot of heavy lifting for me. That I'll call it when we get there. That justifies this really well. I mean, in this scene, again, without that later line, it does just play as like, okay, he's just the character gonna have being this voice of like, I don't want to be party to this anymore, sort of thing. Being like the moral voice in the room of what they're doing, or not in the room as it is the case here. But there is a line later on that ties it into his characterization that I actually think gives me enough to be like, okay, this is where I see where you're coming from. So I'll talk about that later. But let me just say there's enough characterization for him in this episode that justifies this choice, even though it comes later. So Anyways, they point out they need 6 votes. Connor's like, oh, we can do it with 5. He's like, nope. Tyrell's like, if without 6 votes, I'm out too. And Ty says we need a 6th. So So again, going to the procedure of it.
Yes. Focus on procedure. We do it the right way.
Mm-hmm. Back on the Cylon base star, we have Deanna comes in to see Baltar. And she asks, like, how are you? And he's like, I'm alive, I suppose. She brings him some pills.
Are we not going to mention the
very
sort of
white, like the dress outfit that she's wearing?
Yeah, I don't know whether to call it a halter top dress or a V-neck where the V goes down to her navel. Take your pick.
It's the Cylon. The Cylons have to wear their sexy outfits.
Yeah, I'm kind of fed up with that at this point. If I'm honest, I made a fair amount of allowances for Head 6 in particular. Then there's
justification at least for Head 6.
I tried to make excuses for 6 in general, but at this point, fucking stop. Like nothing about Deanna's personality tracks with this fucking outfit.
No, it does not.
Piss off.
And it's like she's been wearing like more gender neutral outfits.
Gender neutral and very practical.
Yes.
This is a woman who uses pockets. What the fuck is she doing in this dress?
Yes. And it's not even like a Xena warrior princess style outfit. It's just the most heteronormative, like sexy lady dress.
Yeah.
Alas. Gotta sexualize the Cylons. yeah. I like, it's like men being like, ooh, her being in a dress will make her weird and mysterious because women are mysterious to men. Like women wearing a dress is alien and different.
Yeah, it'll be all mysterious and like, ooh, she's trying to entice him.
Blech.
God, fuck off, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it just speaks to like how women are seen as alien and weird. Yay. Anyways, yeah, she brings him some pills. He's like, how long have I been here? 3 days. It's taken me 3 days to remember where I was. Like, for you to remember where I was. So he's been sitting there doing nothing for 3 days. No one's come to see him. And he's like, no one's forgotten. There's been a controversy over having brought you on board. You're a human. We were debating whether we should have done that. And he starts making it. It's like, well, I helped you. I gave you Sharon's child. And Deanna argues like, well, the child's rescue did weigh in your favor. The vote is currently deadlocked, 3 in favor and 3 against, and 1 model is still undecided. The decision rests with the 6s.
It is really interesting to me that it is a vote of 6 in both cases.
Mm-hmm.
That is nice paralleling. Well done. Gold star.
Mm-hmm. Anything else interesting there?
This is code for Vera didn't notice a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Vera didn't notice a thing.
Well, I'll just say it. Fuck it. It's something you could intuit, and it's a question to be asked. We do know there are 12 Cylon models. Why are there only 7 models voting here? We've only seen 7 models for sure, which means there's 5 in the wind. So,
are we up to 7?
Well, they said 6. 6. There's 3. It's 3 versus 3, and then the 6 are the ones the undecided one.
No. The way you said we know about 7. I thought
we know about 7 different models. We don't know the number 7. I don't know which one.
No, that's no. Okay, fine. Fuck, you've confused me.
We've got.
Shut up. When you said the phrase "we know about 7 models," that sounded like you were saying there are 7 identified. We know exactly who they are. Are we up to 7?
I believe so.
Okay,
maybe I'm miscounting. At least they're saying 7 here. Maybe I'm miscounting. We have the Cavils.
6.
We have Deanna.
Sharon, Deanna, the Doctor, Leoben, Doral, Cavill. Yeah, we're up to 7.
Yeah.
You're right.
So there's 5 in the wind. I'm just noting though that even when we're on the Cylon ship, we're only getting 7 made note of.
See, I wouldn't read into that. I would assume that is
The show being like, oh, we don't want to reveal the other 5.
Yes.
We're not going to acknowledge that they exist for this
Yes,
scene.
that's exactly what I would assume.
You would assume that.
Yes, I would, and I will.
All right. You can assume that.
Look, dude, the percentage of things that like felt like they were going to be a thing and then weren't versus the number of things that didn't feel like they were going to thing and then became a thing. Plus, on top of that, my own disinclination to be a speculator in general. Like, I don't know what you want from me when you do moments like this. So like, yes, isn't that interesting? I'm like, yeah, sure. Like what?
It is fair.
What the fuck do you want from me at this point?
It is fair. It is one of those things where it's just because I've watched the show, I'm like, this is the question you should be asking. Is you're like, oh, is it? Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, that is my exact answer. Is it interesting? Okay. Anyways,
I guess it does speak to those. It speaks to those like things of like this show has not trained you to trust that it has a plan, even though it says they have a plan.
Yeah, like that's the thing. First of all, I am disinclined to be a speculator and a theory crafter anyways. That's just not how my brain works. But even beyond that, just tracking like the number of things that I found myself thinking, ooh, I wonder if that the few times like I've never come up with elaborate thoughts on exactly what something meant, but the number of times I gone, ooh, I wonder if that means something like no, or it just meant something dumb. I'm like, I just this show, even if I was inclined to be a theory crafter, I think I would have stopped by now with this show anyways.
Yeah. I mean, it just speaks to the mystery box style of storytelling of like, ooh, we'll put a bunch of cryptic shit out there and then we'll have no plan for it and we'll see where it ultimately goes.
Yeah, you know my thoughts on that. So.
Yeah, no, I have thoughts on it as well. But there are some shows that like where this isn't one of them. Having watched it. But there are some shows where I'll trust to be like, oh, when there's a narrative like plot hole here, I will trust it to be like, oh, that might mean something. But definitely not
like
this one.
just for listeners, on the off chance you don't watch my other stuff, understand I don't just do this to Galactica. I do this with shows I love. I have such a lengthy history of criticizing shit in Doctor Who, being told by the fandom to shut up because I'm spoiling the fun because it's gonna mean something later, and then it turns out to mean fucking nothing. They should be on their hands and feet thanking me for not doing way more I told you so laps than I do, because I barely ever say it, but fuck, it happens a lot. And that's my favorite show of all time. But it happens all the goddamn time. I'm like, well, this sucks. And people are like, well, no, because it'll mean something later. And then it either doesn't or it means something dumb.
Well, in this case, it means something. But that
okay.
I've given away the game. But that's about it. That's all I'll say. Anyways, let me put it this way. It's a thing that like you're disinclined to have given a shit about. But there was definitely a forum post somewhere about it at the time it was existing.
I'm sure there were forum posts about goddamn everything in this show.
Yeah. I may have been the one making them. Who's to say?
I know.
Anyways, we then cut to Lee and Adama talking, and Lee is sort of giving a report to Adama's like, there's been a rash of missing person reports, and Adama initially thinks like, oh yeah, we knew there were people that probably didn't make it back from New Capricorn. It's like, no, these are people that we knew confirmed were saved as survivors, but they've just not shown up. Jammer being one of them, and there's been 13 missing people. So there's that's like Adama's aware of the situation, and then we get the button on the scene, your favorite button on the scene, where Apollo gets up and is like, all right, well, I got a date with a jump rope. And then Adama gives him a look, and then he's like, look, I'm trying to I've lost 1 stone already. And Adama's like, keep jumping. I'm like, haha. Vera is showing me her notepad, and she just wrote in her notepad, which is probably her reaction at the time of watching the scene, fuck off, in giant letters.
Yeah, that was exactly what I wrote.
Yep. Gotta get the Apollo's fat jokes.
God fucking hell. This is legitimately the worst I told you, I think I've ever seen a fat suit deployed.
Yeah, whenever I think of fat suits and how bad they are, this is the storyline I think of.
Yeah, like even counting shit like fucking Fat Bastard from Austin Powers 2, I still think this is worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's just because it's like a bunch of tiny fucking weird microaggressions all over the place and like very, very shamey. Like Fat Bastard's fucking terrible, but at least is like this heightened weird fucking reality around it.
Yeah,
You know
like
what I mean?
that's the thing. That is taken to such an extreme to where you don't have to find it funny. I don't, but it's
Mm-hmm.
very clear like it is trying to exaggerate for comedic effect.
Mm-hmm.
And like it takes it has a level of absurdity that doesn't make it okay, but it does make it like you were trying to have fun in not the best
Yeah.
direction. Whatever. I'll fucking move on. And then there's shit like this where it's like it feels like the show thinks it's making a real point about how being soft makes you soft, and then you turn soft and you're always eating and you fuck
Mm-hmm.
you.
Yeah, it's like trying. It's
Fuck
like
you and go to hell.
it's just doing straight up fat shaming with no commentary and thinking like, ha, it's like it's clever for it or
Yeah.
whatever. So
Like at this point, Adama's fat shaming him. The narrative's fat shaming him. He's fat shaming himself.
wife
His
is not
wife
fat
is
shaming, but like
microaggression
yeah,
fat shaming him.
yes.
Oh,
Whee! Don't worry, he'll be cured of his fatness later on.
I know. After
Like
a
a weird
montage.
eugenics bullshit nonsense. Anyways,
God,
um,
fuck.
all right, we cut to like in a high school. Gata's eating his meal alone by himself. I diminish it. Like it is it's a legitimate thing, but it's like it's got high school cafeteria energy.
Yeah. You can't
Um,
sit with us.
yeah. But yeah, Gata's eating alone, and then Starbuck goes over to him and sits with him, and seems to be doing that like tropey thing of like everyone hates you, but I'll be your friend, sort of thing.
Hmm.
And she's like, "How are you doing?" You know, he's like, he seems like I'm making do. How are you? And he's like, "I'm good. Why do you ask?" And he's like, "Well, I heard about your situation." Um, and she's like, "I just try not to think of it anymore. You know, kind of like you, sitting in your cushy little office doing all of Baltar's dirty work for him." Um, and you know, it's clear like, oh, she's being hostile to him. The turn there. And Gate is like, you know, look, and he tries to start being a little defensive of like, I tried to get you out. You know, I was serving the president. We all elected him, and she keeps going at him. It's like, you know, keeps like needling him and all that stuff. And he's like, what do you want me to say? I was trying to help from the inside. You know, I fed information to the resistance. You know, dead drops. There's an internal memorandum. There's a dog bowl. He sort of like says all this, and like Starbuck says has like none of it. And all while this is going on, by the way, there's people starting to stand up. So it starts to look like this is going to turn ugly.
Yeah. Well, like everybody's watching this.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, people get the reason. Well, the reason I say it's getting ugly, it's not just everyone's watching this. Like people are getting up, and like to me, I mean, maybe this isn't the intended scene. To me, that signals like, oh, people are ready to beat the shit out of them. It's kind of like what it starts to signal to me of like this could turn in an ugly way. Rather than just like people turning to watch.
Yeah.
And so Starbuck says like, yeah, you're a fracking hero. And Data gets up and like walks out at that point, which again, I think is the right move because like I feel like that escalates any further. It's going to not go well especially for him. So yeah. I will say I joked about it at the top. I did like this scene in the sense of like there's a good turn in it. It like seems like it's playing into the trope of like I'll be your friend and like does not go that way. So, all right, we then cut to Caprica 6 comes to visit Baltar on the Cylon ship, and she's like, you know, I let my feelings cloud my judgment. You know, I even turned against a sister Cylon, and for what? I'm a Cylon, and I lost sight of that. And like Baltar then tries to argue, like, no, you're a machine. You're more than a machine. You're a person, a real person, a woman. You're in love with me, and I know it hurts, and I'm the only one who can make it better. You need me. And she sort of like takes that does not go well, and she sort of walks out. And I do like that
piece of shit.
Yes. But I do like that I let a note that he says, and he sort of yells after she leaves, I need you too. Maybe I should have started with that. It's like, yeah, maybe you should have, piece of shit.
Maybe you should have. And maybe, you know, you also should have realized telling someone who is a machine.
Oh, you're not that.
Oh, you're not a machine, though. You're a person. That's
yes. It gives the same vibe of being like, well, I don't like a trans person being like coming to their partner and being like, yeah, I feel bad because of how I'm treated as trans. It's like, well, I don't see you as trans. I see you like a real woman.
Yeah.
It's kind of the real vibe. It's kind of the same vibe there.
You're not fat. You're beautiful. Fuck off. Those are not mutually exclusive. Eat shit.
It's the same exact vibe there. Anyways, we go back to
to be clear, listener, is good. That is good writing for Baltar, because he would make that kind of stupid statement. Yes. I always feel the need to clarify sometimes, because I know I have resting bitch voice. And so I know that, like, when I get snarky, you might assume that I don't like it, but I'm being snarky at the character, not the scene, and not the writing. It's good.
No, it's a well-written scene. It's very well handled. It feels true to Baltar's character.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, Baltar's a piece of shit. So, yeah. Anyways, we then cut to the circle jury. So the circle sounds like I'm saying circle jerk, but we cut to
That's what I heard.
Yeah, we cut to the circle jury, and Starbuck is now part of them. And they're sort of talking, it's like, we're a jury, we're just judging the worst of the worst, the killers, and things like that. And she sort of,
it is interesting, the throwing out the, we're judging the worst of the worst. I feel like it was very deliberate that we start with Jammer, who, like, they list the number of people he killed, and it's like 20 something people. And then there's the person that we don't see the execution, but the person that they reach a judgment on just before they start talking about Gaeta. And this is someone who, like, yes, directly killed people, but it was like 8. And then we get to Gaeta, and it's crimes against humanity and
vagaries. Like, he was complicit in things that he may or may not have even seen.
So, like, they say worst of the worst, but it's very clear that that is not a hard line. They are dealing with a spectrum, and some of these are, you can say worst of the worst, and you could certainly claim some of them are, and arguably Jammer would certainly count. At least based off the raw number data that we were given.
Well, it's also worth noting, because this is something I was going to challenge you on a little bit here, and I should have mentioned it. We should have been brought up earlier, but it's worth noting, like, the charge they say is, like, you killed these people, but it's the number of people that were killed in the raid total, of which he was one person. Now, you could argue whether, like, being part of the raid makes you all complicit, but we do not know necessarily the exact number of people he killed. And in fact, when he talks to Tyrell, that's the only official confirmation that we get that he even killed anybody at all. Because if I recall, even in the episode, we don't necessarily see him shoot anybody. We see other people shooting people. We don't know he did. Now, again, we can talk about complicity and whether you're complicit regardless. Like, yes. But we don't necessarily know the number exactly that he killed. He is just being held responsible for all 22 of them in that moment.
That is true, and that is a valid thing to bring up. I will say, I feel like complicity is the wrong word for an active participant in the raid, even if he did not pull the trigger.
For sure. I'm not necessarily disagreeing. I'm just, like, making the point, at least.
Yeah, no, point taken. But even with that in the mix, they're still, like, working through, like, okay, participating in a raid that killed a lot of people. Okay, participating in a raid that killed fewer people. Okay, never participated in a raid. It's like, and, like, likely signed a bunch of stuff, but we also don't know for certain. But as we know, but they have to talk about it in terms, like, worst of the worst, because, again, that's how they have to believe they're going about it. That's how the system is supposed to work.
Anyways, but yeah, they also, and she says, is this legal? And, like, it's legal. And this is where we get to see, like, they show her it's an executive order from the president. So this is approved by Tom Zarek.
Yep.
So this is literally legal again. So it's going to the point I made earlier of, like, this is approved by the state, which is how they kind of justify it personally to themselves. But they are. It
is legal, extra legal murder. Which, is a thing.
It's almost as if the law does not equal morality. Who would have thought that? Anyway, I wish I could drill that fucking idea into people's fucking heads. Anyways,
good luck.
I know, right? And actually, it was a good episode of Strange New Worlds. Shocker of shocks was about that very concept.
I forgot that there were once good episodes of
Strange New Worlds.
Honestly, I'd argue before time and the long, long ago.
Arguably, I think probably one of its best episodes is that one. But yeah. Alas. Whatever. We're getting a puppet episode next year. It'll be fine.
Fuck.
Please, Dungeons and Dragons writers, please save us. I
don't think I'm gonna watch that show next year. There was There was nothing good in season 3.
Let me put it this way. I will let you know if it's worth watching.
There was one episode that was like, that's decent. But nothing was good.
Here's what I'll tell you. You've not seen Lower Decks, right?
No.
Go watch Lower Decks. That one is legitimately worth your time. It is my second favorite Star Trek show besides Deep Space Nine. So
we will see if I ever find that kind of time, because it's 5 seasons.
5 seasons of 30-minute episodes, 10 episodes each. You know?
Yeah. You gonna manufacture that many hours in the day?
It's actually exactly almost that many hours in the day.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah, it's about 24 hours worth of content. You could do that.
Yes, and not fall behind on everything else I have to do all the goddamn time.
Fair. Anyways, so yes, this is approved by Tom Zarek. And they said, okay, so they're like, well, we've been through the evidence already, so take your time. But Starbuck immediately sees like, well, Gata saw this list, the death list. I think Tyrell makes the point again of like, we have no idea what he did or didn't do. And Starbuck just goes, nope, guilty.
Well, like what Tyrell says, we don't know what he did or didn't do when he saw, like, it isn't in dispute that he
saw the list. Yes.
Yeah. They know that for certainty.
Yes. What he did when he saw it. But Starbuck just immediately goes guilty. And, they say it's got to be unanimous and the chief is the last vote. And Anders comes in at this point and says, I want to talk to my wife. And they sort of says, well, we already have your vote, so you can take a break. And so she heads out with Anders.
Yep.
So these next 2 scenes are kind of intercut, so I'm just going to focus on them individually. So I'll start off with Starbuck and Anders. And this is the line that I wanted to call out earlier. Anders said, like, he sort of talks to Starbucks, like, I left this because I'm not looking for more ways to keep killing people. Which this is the line that characterized him in a way that I track this really well. Of like, he's a guy who's been in the Resistance, and then he was in the Resistance on New Caprica, and for pretty much the better part of the last 2 years or such of his life, he has been actively like fighting and killing people and been part of the Resistance. And so for me, I could be like, he's probably at a point of like, I'm fucking done having to make like killing people decisions. And so like that line right there justified his earlier bit in a way that I think was consistent with his characterization that worked really well for me. So
I mean, there's that, and well, I'll let you talk about Starbuck because I want to say stuff about that.
Okay. Well, Starbuck says, I need this. Like Anders points out, is like, well, those people who like did this thing to you, like he doesn't know the Open specifically, but like the people who did this stuff to you, those aren't those people in that room that you're judging. And she says, they'll do. Someone has got to pay, so you can get with it or get lost. And she then goes on to, again, this is kind of intercut with stuff, but we come back to this a beat later, and she says, I'm in a different place now. I don't know how else to explain it, but when I came out of there, it feels like someone painted the world in different colors, and I look at you and I want to tear your eyes out for looking at me. I want to hurt someone, and it might as well be you, so you should probably go before that happens. And then, Anders sort of gives her back his dog tag, or her dog tag. He's hold on to it. It's the symbol that they had between them of like, he gave it to her, she gave it to him as like proof that she was coming back from New Caprica all those seasons back. But he says, I don't want this anymore. And he goes to walk away, and she hugs him as they sort of leave. And it's just one of those, like, it's not like a necessarily romantic hug. It's just one of those, like, man, complicated feelings here, but just hug sort of thing.
Yeah. And I really appreciate this. I appreciate the acknowledgement of the trauma that Starbuck has been through. And I appreciate that. And like, it fits her character, absolutely. But honestly, just flatly, I appreciate them having a woman who has been traumatized, who has a response other than just depression and fear. Like, her response is anger, and she needs something to direct it at. And she's literally telling her husband, if you're here, it's going to be you. And she has just enough awareness of what is going on with her to be able to say that. But she also can't stop. She can't change how she's responding. She can't change how she's feeling. She can't change the anger that she's still processing. And it's a hell of a lot more nuanced perspective. And again, none of it, like, tying to Leoben insofar as he clearly traumatized her, but none of it tying back to the idea that he was that she was made to say I love you, or like the thing with the kid. None of it tying back into any of that specifically, just being about her very justified, frankly, anger and not knowing where to direct it. I think this is really well done.
Yeah, and it's like she's trying to be like, I like the people, they'll do, and it's like she's sort of again being like, these people deserve it. I can put my anger out on people who deserve it at the very least. It's like not at Anders, at least it'll be at someone who deserves to die and deserves the anger. So in this mind, like that's enough for her. But we already see like with stuff with Gata, she's instantaneously saying guilty, and she's not even looking at the evidence. Like it's not even about like judging these people fairly. It's just instantaneously guilty. It's just about hurting them without looking at the answer. And she's justifying it to herself as like they deserve it anyways, but she's not actually looking at the evidence. So, yep.
Well, I mean, the thing that I really appreciate about it is that it does not feel like Anders is obviously uncomfortable, but it does not feel like the show is judging her for this.
No, it's not like Anders doesn't get on a moral high horse here either.
Yeah, which was what I was worried about. The instant he had his little, I didn't sign up for this moment, I'm like, fuck, here comes like the I'm above this, but he never goes there. He says like, I can't because I like, for what I've been through, I can't deal with this anymore. And she tells him, well, for what I've been through, I need this.
Yeah, I do really like that because, again, it speaks to like their separate traumas. Like he has been traumatized of like, I've just been living in murder people mode for John. Again, he was in the resistance. There's a reason he was doing it. But he just like cannot be doing that anymore. And she's been without agency for so long and has a lot of anger from the trauma, specifically from the open. So it's like, yeah, it makes sense for both of them. And I just really do appreciate that it is like, and this is the other thing too, we haven't touched upon too, about them. Like there's kind of a pseudo breakup here going into this of like, it's not a vitriolic one. Like the hug at the end, I think works in the sense that like maybe their romance has kind of soured, but like there's an understanding here of like they're just not in the best place for each other at this moment, and there's still some level of like caring for each other and not like hating each other. They just know that their traumas do not mesh at the moment.
These are clashing traumas at the moment, or at the very least clashing coping mechanisms.
Yes. So yeah, I thought that was really well handled, actually.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So concurrent with this, we have Ty talking to the chief, because like he's sort of like saying like, oh yeah, this is what you're thinking right now. It's like, oh, Gate is such a good guy. Let's look the other way on this one. Well, a lot of good people had to pay the price, and he brings up the point that you made earlier that you said about his wife. Like Ellen collaborated and she died for it. That's the price for collaborating with the enemy. And sort of making that argument of like, you know, she suffered this way, like Gata doesn't get let off the hook. And you know, he says Baltar signed the death warrant, and Tyrell points out it's like Baltar, not Gata. And you know, he said a lot of people, Ty says like a lot of people died because of them, both of them. And then Tyrell, like sort of worn down by all of this, says he votes guilty. He seems to clearly has conflicted feelings about it, but he votes guilty.
Yeah.
So. All right, then we cut to Gata gets grabbed in the hallway. He is punched, then gagged, and has a bag put over his head, and he's brought to the Viper tube, just like Jammer. And they say again, you've been tried and found guilty as a duly authorized by the president of the colonies. Which, just noting, they did not say that in the earlier scene, and it is one of those bait and switch things of like, we're not going to reveal this just yet, which is one of those like hand of the author moments. But whatever, I'll let it go. But yeah, they ask, say, do you have any words to offer in your defense? As he's being about ready to be shoved down a tube. And Tyrell's like, talk, we'll listen. And as soon as, like, Tyrell's he's trying to create a safe space. I'm like, look, we'll listen to you, bro. And yeah, Connor immediately negates that safe space, being like, yeah, you talk about how you're hiding behind Baltar's skirt. And Gate is just like, he's kind of resigned to his fate here. Is like, what's the point? I already tried to explain it. I'm not going to beg. And like Ty's like, too bad you didn't grow that spine a few months ago. And they are about to all walk out, but then Starbuck goes back and she kicks him and says, beg. And she like wants him to beg. Again, all of her trauma shit coming out. And she's like, and then she starts yelling at him. I was like, come on, tell them how you were working for the resistance. Tell them about the messengers and the dog bowl. Tyrell hears that specific word, dog bowl. Mm-hmm. Which he's then like, wait, what did you say? And you see shots from like previous episodes, which is why I wanted to emphasize, because there was a scene earlier where you're like, oh, he knows that Gata was like his informant, and I'm like, no, he does not. And that's actually very important.
Yeah, so it was just, and I'm glad you pointed out. So it was just a matter of Gata being an idiot and talking with a known resistance person out in the open.
Yes. So the scene confuses that a little bit, I will admit.
Tiny bit.
But I did want to make clear when we were reviewing that earlier episode, and this is the reason, is like, no. Tyrell does not know that information. But he does learn it now, because he's like, yes, the dog bowl was our signal. That must, like, only the person who was the informant would know that. Gata has to be the informant. And so he frees him. And he's like, I never knew there was a source. There's no way else could have known. He's the reason he points out, is like, he's the reason we're on this ship. He gave us the info. That's our source. And Ty even like realized it. And Gata sort of stands up, kind of like, like he just has this like sad thing about it. It's like, I did what I could. And as he walks away, he's like, I don't know what else I could have done. And Starbuck sort of like leaves upset, and Ty seems conflicted about the whole thing.
Yeah, I think that what I like about this moment is you can see from Ty, like, he had been taking an awful lot of comfort in how certain he was allowing himself to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And now at the last minute, like just before they were about to kill somebody and he'd signed off on it, like they find out that this guy was one of the exceptions that even he probably would have made.
Mm-hmm. If he had no
but
information.
He didn't want to listen.
Yeah, and this is what happens when you don't have a trial for people.
Yeah.
And also the other element of the scene that actually, like, low-key is my favorite part of the scene is actually Gata. The actor who plays Gata. I really, really like how this scene is played with him, because he is already kind of resigned to his fate when he walks in. When he's there, and he's not even putting up an argument. And I think part of it is not just the fact that Connor's going at him and he doesn't think that they'll hear him, but he also knows Starbuck has already heard this. And like Starbuck never brought it up earlier either, which is a point to bring up. And so it's only by chance that it's because of Starbuck's own fucking trauma that it even comes out now. And so like he already thinks he's been tried with all the information on the table, so he's kind of already reserved to that. But then what I really like, especially at the end, is when he is released, he has this like, I did what I could. I don't know what else I could have done. And the way the actor plays it is you feel the sense of his feeling of guilt too, of like, I wish I could have you more. Could I have done? And you certainly think there's like probably going in his brain is like, could I have done more? Was there more I could have done? And that sense of weight and guilt that he plays on him. So like everything to do with Gata and the way the actor plays this scene, I think is very nuanced and very well done. I really like, he's probably my favorite actual thing. Like there's a lot going on in the scene that is really, really good. But that in particular, I really, really liked a lot. So,
yep, I agree.
All right. We then cut to Adama, Roslyn, and Zarek. So Roslyn has essentially learned about all of this. And is like, Zarek's like, it's perfectly legal. It's a death warrant with my signature. It's like, and Adama's like, your presidency is a farce. And he's like, they are tried by a jury of their peers. They have a jury, but they don't get lawyers. This is Eric saying, they don't get to showboat for weeks and months. They don't get fame. They just disappear. And you, Roslyn, get to come into office with clean with their blood, without their blood on their hands. Roslyn makes the arguments like everyone by law is entitled to a trial. It is not an option to be discussed. And he's like, well, if you make the trials public, you'll find, you think you'll find justice? Like the trial will consume this fleet for months, maybe even years. It'll be a circus and you'll be signing death warrants every day. Is that how you want to spend your term, the executioner in chief?
I like this scene a lot too, because while certainly from a oversimplified moral standpoint, Zarek is wrong. But I like that they let him make not only a case for what he's doing, but an understandable one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say that I think he's right, but I am going to say I understand what he's doing. And I don't think he is an innately bad person for coming to the conclusion he came to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree, and I don't think I'd have done what he did, but he is making a valid point. Like, you make these public trials, and all you're doing is parading the trauma that we've all been through in front of everyone to make them relive it, hear it hashed out, make people testify about all the horrible stuff that happened to them, and just reopen every wound. He's not wrong. Does that mean he should be doing what he's doing? No, but it is one of the better instances of, having understandable reasons for doing a bad thing that I've seen in a while, because it's usually done at such an extreme where, like, okay, I can sympathize with your motive, but the thing you chose to do because of it is unconscionable. It's not quite that far. I still think he's wrong, but I think it is a very understandable conclusion. And under circumstances where, because like we talked about the objective and been part of it, like me from a quote unquote objective standpoint of not having to have to live through any of that, it's very easy for me to say he's wrong. I don't know if I'd feel that way had I gone through anything like this. So the balance of that is real good in this scene.
Yeah, I really like it, and I want to call out because it is not exactly the same situation. They're very, very different things here, but the probably the closest on hand corollary to this is the Nuremberg trials.
Yeah.
And there's a fantastic video. I don't know if you watched Vera. Jacob Geller recently did a really, really good video that I want to call up that people should watch about Nuremberg. And that video is very much about these conflicting emotions of like, you want to have these people get justice. There's also a lot of anger at these people of like, fuck them, they deserve to die. And then also looking at like how Nuremberg as a whole trial was very messy and did not necessarily achieve the ends that it was looking for, and gave these people a platform, gave these people a chance to like justify themselves. Was a very messy situation. It's a very good video. I would really recommend people go watch it because it kind of deals with all these conflicting emotions that Jacob is expressing as a person, and also like diving into the conflicted results of Nuremberg as just an event, and its lasting legacy. And I think this comes out in what this scene is trying to get at like these multiple points of view of like, you can honestly justify it either way. Like, do these people deserve a trial as we see with Gaeta? Yes. But in some cases, like, yes, this would also just create a thing that would consume the fleet for years and would become a place where a lot of these people get to justify themselves publicly.
And like, it does kind of become an all or nothing thing. Mm-hmm. You either give everyone a trial or nobody gets one. Mm-hmm. Because the instant you start saying you get a trial and you don't, you have undermined both systems. Mm-hmm. Both the harsh system of like the 6 people and the no public trial, and the having a proper trial. You undermine both by picking and choosing. And normally I'm somebody who says nothing is ever all one or all the other. Like, no, legitimately. Either everyone gets a trial or nobody does, because to do halfway negates both options, negates the validity of both of them.
Mm-hmm. The other element of this too that is worth noting on a character level that I find interesting too is like Zarek's doing this in part. I'm sure it's not even his primary motivator, but in part, at least the argument that he makes is like giving Rosalind a clean hands.
Yeah,
which is like
which ties into the sense we had before of like the limited amount of time they have. So you realize like, oh, that's why they only had a number of days to do this, because they want it done before Rosalind is in charge again.
Yeah, and it gives her clean hands in this, which is like interesting morally in a lot of different ways of like, oh, the state as an institution can wash its hands clean of this, of like, look, we have a new president, so it's not her fault. Even though the state institution still enabled it, which is, certainly I look at this right now and be like, oh, I wonder once, Trump is all said and fucking done, you'll we get someone else who comes in and be like, look, all that horrible stuff that the United States did, it's fine because we got rid of the bad guys. Like, no, the United States is an institution. How could you ever really trust it again? Just call those things into question too. So,
well, yeah, because, and like, we won't fix anything, because if we'd had half a brain after his first term, a whole lot of things would have been shored up and reinforced and new things put into place to ensure that something like him didn't happen.
No, but we just did normalize the encroachment of power.
Nope. We did fucking nothing.
Yep. And we'll do it again, I'm sure. Gavin Newsom 2028. Whee!
Oh, God. Shut the fuck up.
I know. I hate every second of it, but whatever.
Look, the thing that I'm...
This is the whole other conversation.
Look, the thing I am reassuring myself is that the first front runners, like before the primaries even start, never get the nomination.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm hoping to. But my argument that I've always made, and I hate it, but I'm like, if things keep going the way it is, I see that as honestly the most likely outcome. And he'll just normalize the encroachment of power. Whee! Huzzah. Again, a lot can happen between now and then. Who the fuck knows what's going on? Every day is a new horror. So who the fuck knows who we're going to be? But yeah, it's definitely not an option, let's just say.
The horrors persist, but so do the whores. That's how I pay my bills.
Yeah. Screams. Anyways, speaking of swearing in a president who normalizes the encroachment of power, cut to Laura Roslin being sworn in. And she said, she shifts the thing. Is like, she has this speech about, the future is ours to shape. A new day requires new thinking, says the person who is being reinstated to office. Yeah. A new day requires new thinking. That's why I am here for my second term. Anyways,
a new day requires new thinking. That's why we have Joe Biden, and now we're gonna run his vice president. A new day with new thoughts. Wait a fucking minute.
Yeah, it's like we want new thinking, which is why we wanted the vice president of the guy from before. Am I talking about Biden or am I talking about Kamala? Who knows? Anyways,
I hate it here.
It's hell. We're at hell.
We all died in 2020, and we are all in hell.
Yes. Anyways, Laura says, I was going to announce a formation of a prosecutor's office that was going to go bring people to trial, but I decided against it and instead do a different gesture. We all feel the need for justice and vengeance, and it's hard to tell the difference. I can't be impartial. You can't be. No one really can be, which is fair. Like, everyone is, got some level of non-objectivity in here, considering how small humanity is at the moment. So she says, I am forming a truth and reconciliation office. It'll record our stories for posterity, and there'll be no prosecution. This will not be popular, but we need it for healing. And then after this, Adama is the first one to stand up and clap. So,
which is an interesting solution, like the idea of like nobody will be prosecuted, but everything will be recorded. So like we are not sweeping this under the rug and forgetting, but we're also not going to do, the hunt down, the prosecution, the trial, and everything else. Like we're not doing that. We have to move on from that. But also, it's all on record. Nobody gets to pretend this didn't happen.
We are, at least on an institutional level, we are forgiving but not forgetting. Is essentially the vibe.
Which is an interesting way to try and thread the needle for her.
And then we get the final scene of the episode where Gaeta is eating a meal again. He's in his uniform, so presumably he's signed back up with the fleet. And Tyrell goes and sits with him.
Yep.
And that is the episode. I will do a spoiler minute here. So for listeners, if you do not want spoilers, you can jump ahead 60 seconds like Vera is going to do by giving me 60 seconds on the clock in real time.
And go.
The big thing for me to just chat about is the trial of Baltar that will be coming on later on this season. Again, I forget exactly how we get there, but I know Lee, I believe it's Lee, makes the argument that we need to have this because we need to put someone on trial for the sins of everything that happened during the occupation, which will be an interesting conversation to put in the context of this episode and the conclusions that this episode comes to, of like, oh, you're going to have like one person become the symbol of all of this, and we're going to put him on trial specifically for it. So yeah, that'll be an interesting conversation for when we get there, but obviously the trial of Gaius Baltar will be a very relevant idea that is rhyming with certain elements of this episode. That's really the only thing I have to say that is worth bringing up. And then obviously, I guess since I alluded to it earlier, the 5 Cylons are the final 5, which we will clearly learn in the season finale of this season, who the 4 of the final 5 are. I don't think we learn all 5. I don't think we learn Ellen is one of the final 5 until
time.
We'll get there when we get there. All right, Vera, what did you think of the episode?
I was 200ths of a second off. I was so close. I kind of already said as much, but I think this is the best episode we've had in a while because it, for the first time in a long time, it lets things be messy. It lets them be complicated. It lets them stay with no clear best option, no clear solution, no clear best moral position to have taken. Not only like the characters might think they know what's going on, but the narrative as a whole is not drawing a line and saying this is who's right, this is who's wrong. It is letting the messy situation be what it is. And it's been a while. It has been a while since that's happened.
Yeah, I will agree. This was not only one of the best episodes we watched in a while. I think it's the best episode we watched so far, like period, on the show.
I wasn't quite prepared to go that far, but I'm not going to argue against that.
Yeah. I could easily see this being like one, at least in contention when we finish the show. Of like we do our lists usually of best episodes. This will probably be on there.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, it's fantastic. And I really, really like it. That scene with Gata in the tube is legitimately one of my favorite scenes to go back to as like just someone who likes to direct. Like, you know, there's a reason I wanted to go into film, and like scenes like that are one of the ones that I really liked, and why I like to work with actors. I didn't even call out, but like that scene just has so many actors dealing with so many different things and so many things handled in that scene. I was like, there's, you know, Ty's justification, you know, Starbucks trauma coming out there, Tyrell trying to like mess with his own internal politics, Gata's acting in that scene. Like so much is happening in that scene. It's so well done. Yeah, I really like this episode quite a lot. The characters are handled well done, like well. Even Zarek still remains a character that I don't always agree with, but I'm like, you know, the show is at least handling him well so far.
They still haven't fully oversimplified him morally.
Yeah. So yeah, no, this is definitely up there as one of the best episodes of the show, and reminds me why I liked the show, and continues to reiterate my season 3 onwards is the best part of the show. So we'll see, because the messiness still I talked about it in spoiler minute, so I won't say it here, but if listeners listen to that, you will know there's still more messiness to come. So we'll get there when we get there. Yeah, anything else to say, Vera?
I don't think so.
All right, then. Stuff time.
Stuff. You can find my stuff by looking for Council of Geeks.
Woo!
Patreon pays the bills, and the main thing that funds is the Council of Geeks YouTube channel, where I don't know what the heck I've talked about lately. I'm so far, my schedule is all over the place right now. I don't know what's coming out. So don't ask me. But
it'll be something good, I'm sure.
Hopefully. So, but new videos every Saturday. You can also follow Council of Geeks on Blue Sky. I have my secondary channel, The Break Room of Geeks, where I talk about whatever I have watched, listened to, played, or read lately. I'm not currently following any shows at the time that you are hearing this, because Has Been Hotel will be done. So yeah, just whatever random stuff. As I try and burn through HBO Max so I can cancel the damn thing.
Watch Veneno.
I'll try. I do not promise. God damn it.
At least watch the first episode. The first episode works on its own terms, I will say.
Okay.
The show is well worth watching. The first episode at least stands on its own. So
I will make a commitment to at least watch the first episode.
All right.
But yeah, that's the geeky stuff. There's also the spicy stuff. And for that, you can look for Vera Wild. Wild is spelled WYLDE. And you can find increasingly spicy content. On YouTube. TikTok.
And you can find me at Jesse Gender. I do video essay style of stuff. More than likely, I believe by the time you listen to this, it'll either be out already or out soon. Video on why tech oligarchs love Star Trek. So check out that video. I'm a big fan of that one. I was proud of that one. I also have a secondary channel called Jesse Gender After Dark, where I do news, reviews, reactions. I am still probably reviewing It Welcome to Derry and Pluribus over there. as well as random other stuff that I have on that channel. I also have a Blue Sky and an Instagram that you can follow me on. And then I also have a Patreon that helps you pay my bills, which you can support me there and get videos early, your naming videos, all that fun jazz. And then I am on Nebula, which is a streaming service that houses my movie Identities, as well as the show Subliminal that I have directed an episode of that will come out sometime next year. That is everything that I had. Vera, anything else?
Nah.
Alrighty then, with all that said, I hope y'all, my friends, all live long and prosper.
Be seeing you.